All right, we are on part 4 of building your TED Talk. So I have taken a bunch of my sources over here that I've looked up for my different topics, and I've put the research into my outline. So when it says intro, I've got my plan. I'm going to start with a question. I'm going to have a link from my attention getter to my thesis saying, why do we get so defensive? Here's the thesis. And then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. My previous statement is like how it's organized. So I'm going to give you the definition. I'm going to talk about criminalization and other issues. And then I'm going to talk about what we can do to make a change. So then it goes into my research. So the definition is there. I've copied and pasted so I can say, according to the ACLRC, this is the definition, which stands for the International Perspectives Women in Global Solidarity. So they've said anti-racism is the active process of identifying, so I could read that, right? Then I'm going to talk about police shootings, and I'm going to show a little bit of that YouTube clip. And then I'm going to talk about mass incarceration. I'm going to give that quote from Michelle Alexander's book. Then I'm going to talk about the wage gap, and I found some research on that from nationalpartnership.org. So about how women of color, how they make significantly less on average than white men, and that's something that we need to change, and that's something that can be changed with policies or law or things we vote on or in companies, policies that we do at work. And then I'm going to talk about education, how racism affects the education system, especially in how we punish and criminalize and suspend instead of like talking it out and trying to figure out how to help, which is called restorative justice. So I'll talk about those. And then finally, I'm going to talk about what we can do. So there's an article I found from NPR that talks about here's what you can do to fight against racism. So I will talk about that. And then in the conclusion, you're just going to kind of like review what you just said. So I'm going to talk about how we have to move past the defensiveness of saying I'm not racist and feeling overwhelmed by all the problems, and we need to just work for change step by step. So we need to redefine what it means to be anti-racist as opposed to just being not racist. How can we actively engage in changing things? We have to look at all the racist policies and, pick what do we want to focus on? What do we want to change? What are we passionate about? And focus on that and be actively engaged. And then we need to engage the movement. So what are different things that we can do? And I'll talk about that. And then I'm going to end with the Martin Luther King quote. He says, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And then I'm going to talk about how the pledge doesn't just say justice for some, it says justice for all. It's time we make that a reality. Okay, so I've got my plan for what I'm going to say, and now I'm ready to make my slides. So I'm going to start a new tab, and I'm going to go to the little waffle thing at the top, click on slides. Now your slides need to be more pictures and less words, okay? So you want to think of pictures that reinforce what you're saying, okay? So if I mention a protest or the Black Lives Matter movement, I'll want to, bring up a picture of a protest with somebody holding up a sign that's really moving, okay? So you need 5 slides. So you might as well just make 5 slides, okay? And then you're going to search for videos, images that reinforce what you're saying. You're going to put those into the slides, okay? So I'm going to work on that now, and we'll come back for the last part of what you're going to be doing. But for your slideshow, you just need to find images. So if you're doing like Messi versus Ronaldo, you can put in a YouTube video of highlights. You can have a picture of Messi and his stats. Or if you're doing like Michael versus LeBron, same thing. If you're talking about makeup and you're doing a tutorial, you just have pictures that reinforce what you're talking about. All right, so you're going to read from your outline on your Google Doc on your iPad, and they're going to show the Google Slides on the screen in the room. So those are 2 different things. So you want to just have pictures reinforcing, but you want to be talking from your outline. You don't want to have a lot of words on your screen. We don't need to read a PowerPoint or read a Google Slide thing. Just have strong, powerful images, just like we saw in some of the TED Talk examples that we watched, especially in the model. Cameron Russell that talked about image and how powerful it is. She didn't have a lot of words on her slides, but she reinforced what she was saying with her storytelling. So that's what we want to do too. So I'm going to go through and click some images, and then we'll go back for the last part of your TED Talk.